Good evening, darts fans, and thanks for tuning in now on this one-off special titled Breeding Winners. I'm pleased to say that I'm joined by the man behind the Sportsman Management Company Limited, Mr. Mac Elkin. Good evening, Mac. It's been a while, obviously, since we last caught up. I hope you're keeping well, mate.
Yeah, I'm good, Tom. I'm good, thanks, mate. Obviously, after last night, I'm just calming down today. So, yeah, I'm very good, mate. I'm very good, thanks.
Now, if my recollections are correct, it was just after Villa sealed promotion to the Premier League the last time we spoke. A lot has obviously happened since then with the darts and Aston Villa.
Well, that was probably the best Sunday of my life. The most stressful, but at the end of it, it was all worth it. It was fantastic. And then what's going on since has just been amazing. I've jumped on the biggest surfboard and rode the biggest crest of a wave, and this wave is still flowing, and I just don't want it to end, to be fair.
No, it's been a whirlwind 6 months really for you and the lads. Let's just begin with the man of the moment, José de Sousa. What a moment and what series of performances to win the Grand Slam of darts on debut. Elation, joy, pride. Just a few words to describe your emotions at the moment, I expect.
You know what, Tom? Considering it took so long to actually win a major, obviously Mensur Suljovic was my first major winner, the Champions League of darts. But then to have Dimitri, then Glenn win the Premier League, and then José last night. And again, as much as I was so happy for José to win it, but it was tough because Wade has now been beating the last two TV finals, and since he's joined us, he's stepped up again. He's back up there. He's fantastic. He's determined to get right back up there. His game's there. He deserves it. And it was tough last night when Wadey come off and to try and to try and lift him, because he's been there and done it. He's experienced, and he felt in his own mind, he felt he didn't play well last night. He didn't give José a game. I mean, don't get me wrong, as disappointed as Wadey was that people may have seen on TV, once he came off that stage, he was so respectful to José. I can't fault him. But he's a winner, and he don't like losing, and people kind of take the wrong impression of Wadey. But like I say, he's a winner, and if he wasn't disappointed, then I'd be disappointed in him. But for José, it's been fantastic. He had a lovely surprise today, which I can't say. That will come out in the next couple of days. But he just can't believe what's going on at the moment. He a few weeks ago, he couldn't win the Grand Prix, come off the stage, and he sat there. He was nearly in tears, asking me, why can't I win a game on stage? Why am I not good enough to play on stage when I can play on the floor? And Gary Anderson pulled him aside and said, you're a baby. You're a baby at this sport. You've only been in it a year and a half. It will come. You're a great player. It will come. And lo and behold, European Championships, it's a 9-darter against Jeffrey. And then the Grand Slam, it speaks for itself. I know we lost one of the games in there, but the game that he beat Christoph was superb. Michael Smith was fantastic against José in the group. And for me, Michael Smith was the player of the tournament, and it just didn't happen for him again, unfortunately. But he's another player that will win many, many, many majors. He's only young, one of the best players in the world.
I mean, you could say the signs were there for José. I mean, obviously, since you signed him, he won 2 ranking titles last year. He's won the European Tour this year, and then leading up to that, winning the Grand Slam. You speak about Michael Smith there. The game with Michael Smith, for me personally, was the game of the tournament. It was fantastic. It had 180s, high finishes, drama. It had everything.
Yeah, you're right. Are we talking the quarter final now?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so the quarter final, yeah, I think José got a bit lucky, which when you win a title or when you become a champion, sometimes you have to have that luck on your side. I've touched on it, like I said in the last sentence, about Michael being the best player in the tournament, and then it was crucial. The miss on the 24-12, the double 3, and if you watch Michael's reaction, he knew José was not missing again, and it was all going to be over. But he really deserves it, and I have to touch on Michael that he's had a lot of stick in in social media lately, and people calling him names, and he's a cheat and this, that, and the other. And let me tell you something, Michael is the ultimate professional. One thing he will never do is cheat. He's a winner. He's a born winner. The same as Wadey. Michael's a born winner. He's respectable on the board, regardless of what people say or see. He's very respectable. And the stick he gets is uncalled for. And I'll touch on the game that he played against Christoph Lataski. Michael was through. Michael could have relaxed. Mike Smith could have relaxed in that game. José would have been out, and I wouldn't be sitting here now. But he didn't. He was the ultimate professional, and he played that game out at 105 average and was absolutely superb. So we owe a lot to Mike Smith, to be fair, to get José through. But I just wanted to touch on the point that all the stick he's got just is undeserved, and people have to realise it's not just Mike that suffers, because believe me, he does suffer, and all the players suffer, but it's the families, and Mike's got 2 young kids, and it's just really, really, really uncalled for. It's sad people. It's a small minority that do this, and it breaks my heart when I see this, because I speak to some of the players' families, and I have to see what they go through, and it's really unfair, and people don't understand. These people that maybe they do understand, maybe that's what they want. But the people that call the dart players names or call them out because they've maybe lost a little bet here or there, don't realise the effect it has deep down and further on. And players' families are suffering as well. And it does, it hurts, that does.
Yeah, I must agree with you that it's completely uncalled for abuse on social media or anything, or any walks of life, because you don't know what players have got going on in the background, or as you say, with family. And I agree totally with Michael Smith. He's hungrier than any other player that I know. He's obviously got family to support, as does a lot of the PDC professionals, and it's sad to see things like that go on. Let's just move on to José and his win, obviously defeating the likes of Smith, Whitlock and Wadey en route to the title. José's shown why you can live with the world's best at a consistent level. There were whispers suggesting, I know there was a few critics saying that José may not be able to adapt to a longer format, etc. But he certainly put those qualms to bed. Now moving up to 15th in the world. And he said in an interview after I think it was a quarter-final, that in soft tip he played up to 13, 14 hours. So obviously people saying that you can't play the longer format, that's incorrect.
That's right, that is. What it does do, Tommy, it does go to sleep in longer formats. Well, he goes to sleep in a lot of games. If you watch José, he'll play brilliant 8 or 9 legs, and then he'll go to sleep for 4 legs, and he won't hit a treble, and he'll start pushing and pulling. But you know what? He adapts, and he adapts back. So a longer format actually suits him more than a shorter format, because he can't, right, the word's not afford to give 4 or 5 legs away. But if he does lose 4 or 5 legs, he's still got time to come back. And he never, he was behind against Simon, he was behind against James early on. He was 3-0 down, 3-0 down against James. And it looked like it was all going wrong. And he wasn't flustered, he kept the same, he was calm. And then he just came back. And, well, we all seen what he can do. And the same with Simon. Although he was chasing, it doesn't bother him. He's got the game, he's got the scoring, he's the 180s. Fantastic. And then one of these days, he's going to be like Gary Anderson. Scoring's there, but one of these days, he's going to start hitting doubles. And when he does, he'll win a lot more. And I know we go on about his miscounting, but that's all part of the fun, and come on, we love him for that.
Yeah, it's all a case of as well, Mac. When say you're down in a game, but you know that you played well, that's where that confidence remains. Like when Simon Whitlock was averaging 110 after the first 10 legs, he must have thought his level is going to go down eventually. And is it a case of just taking those positives out? Even though, like when he was 3-0 down to James, he was did he hit 4 180s in the first 4 legs despite being 3-0 down? So is it a case of taking those positives and remaining calm because it's a long format?
Of course, Tom. And we all know darts is a confidence game. It don't matter who you are. Look at Michael van Gerwen at the moment. Best player in the world by far. Yet he can't do nothing right at the moment. I thought this was the tournament Michael was going to come back, and then he misses 5-match darts, and he missed them like he was dead nervous. You could see the way through that. That double one to his 18. He was nervous. But Michael will come back. MVG will come back because he's too good. And players go through the split. We watched Glenn last week. Glenn struggled in the Winter Series. He struggled in the Grand Slam. People are like saying, "Oh, you finished, you this and this." It's a blip. Footballers go through it. He's a sportsman. He's an elite sportsman. Michael Van Gerwen, elite sportsman. They'll come back from these blips. So yeah, with José, look, going back to José, of course it's confidence, and his confidence is sky high at the moment. And the Winter Series helps as well because he made 2 finals in the Winter Series, lost them both 8-7 last leg deciders. Peter Wright and Michael Smith beat him. So his confidence going into this Grand Slam was sky high. It was absolutely sky high. And like I say, he don't get flustered. He just keeps calm, but he's that laid back. And he always has been. It's not a show. He's so laid back, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, it's fantastic. But confidence is the major factor in any game. And I do say to all my players, I always say, listen, if a player's hitting 100 average or 110 like Simon Whitlock, try and hang on to his coattail. Try and stay, in a long format. Try and stay 2 or 3 legs in it. If you can stay in that game, it's so hard to maintain that kind of average all the time on a long format. I mean, it happens now and again, but more times than likely, the average drops. And if you're only throwing below a 90 for argument's sake, the chances are you're going to put 5 points on your average because you start to relax as you get into the game and everything, and it starts to even out then. And then you start nicking legs, and we all know when you're nicking legs, and the player that's playing so well, like looks at the score and it's 9-7, 9-8, and he's like, how am I not miles in front? They start thinking, and it happens to all our players as well. So yeah, so I agree with what you say. It's definitely a confidence. It's about hanging on in there, and it's about averages fluctuating.
So a final word on José. Did the winning Sindelfingen on the Euro Tour, did that play a big part in his confidence and belief heading into the Grand Slam, do you reckon?
Not just heading into the Grand Slam, heading into everything. That win, honestly, you'd have thought he'd won the World Championship when he won that. Honestly, 25 grand is huge to José. It's absolutely huge. He's just bought a new house. He's renovating the house. He's still paying as he goes, if you know what I mean. So that 25 grand was huge. And to beat the best player in the world in the final, the way he beat him as well, it was a massive confidence booster for him. Like I said, not just for the Grand Slam, for everything. And on the back of that, like I said, he's gone to the European Champs at 9 data, went to the World Cup for the first time, made his debut, got through the first round, and then Winter Series, it's 2 finals, and then wins the Grand Slam. So 100%. That was a massive, massive confidence boost for him.
So as we've discussed previously, Mac, on previous occasions, obviously, success isn't always easy, especially when you have 2 players that represent you facing each other. We had it in the World Match Play with Glenn and Dimitri in that great semi-final. José and Dimitri in the semis this year. It's obviously celebrating one player winning the match, but obviously you've got to pick the other player up, and that must be difficult.
It's part of the job, Tom, unfortunately. When you've got so many players, it's part of the job. But you know what? I say unfortunately. I wish I could do it every single week. I'd take it every week because I know if 2 players are playing in the semi-final and I'm picking one up off the floor, I know I'm successful. I know the player that's just beating the semi-final is successful. To get to a semi-final of a PDC major with the players are about, it's a dream for a lot of players. There's some great players that have never done it. So, you know, Dimitri came off the other day. He was down, but you know what? We sat there, we talked for 5 minutes, we picked the positives, and he was okay. He was fine. He was fine, and that's what I try and do. I always try to pick the positives because negativity just brings the whole team down. And at the moment, we've got a group of people, and we get on so well. Everything we do together. Everything is part of being with each other. We lift each other when Glenn's on the floor. It was Glenn's 50th birthday. He's come today to the Rico. He's having his COVID test. We went into his room this morning before he even arrived, before the cleaners had been in, that sanitised his room, and then we asked for special permission to go in because he was 50 yesterday. We completely decorated his room with stuff. And then the cleaners went back in and re-sanitised the room. And just for Glenn, you know what I mean? I said I'll pay money if I have to pay extra money, but the hotel were fantastic with us. Just to lift him, and it's give him a lift. I'm not saying he's going to go to the Players' Champs on Friday and win it. I'm not going to say that. His confidence was at a low ebb, but that's the kind of thing we do. We rally around and we try and lift each other. We try and get positives out of everything. We try and want negativity out of everything we can, because what does negativity give you? Apart from a COVID test when you want negativity, obviously. But joking apart, what does negativity bring? It brings bad vibes, which puts players in bad moods and they're not in the right frame of mind. So it's all about being happy. It's about Dimitri's song, Because I'm Happy.
I suppose, though, it's good to see a player show emotion after a defeat, because you know that it bothers them because they want to win. It's how you obviously pick yourself up and respond to a certain defeat. I mean, there's several players out there, Glenn's one of them, who will sort of take it. A defeat will lay heavy on him, but it's how he responds after that. I mean, look at he often dwells on the defeat to Scott Waits at the Lakeside before he won those 3 titles. And that defeat there made him more hungry than ever to go and win those World Championships.
Tom, you touched on Glenn, so let's talk about Glenn first. He lost 4 semi-finals last year. 4 semi-finals. And he came back after each one and went to the next tournament, another semi-final, lost again, another semi-final. Do you know what I mean? Fantastic. Then quarter-final at the Worlds. This year, he got into the Premier League. Everything that's gone on in the Premier League. He wins the Premier League the Premier League itself. And then he comes back, semi-finals and finals, and then wins the Premier League title as well. You know, it's huge. So, yeah, every player that gets to a semi-final and you say you've got to pick them up, we sit there, obviously, 10, 20 minutes, half an hour after the game, they're down, they're disappointed. You can't do it to every player. You can't pick positives out of it like with Wadey last night. For half an hour, Wadey was devastated for the fact that he didn't play to the standard he knows he can play. He thinks he didn't give José a game. He thinks he should have given him a game. But we sit there after, and I mean, literally 30 minutes after, and we talk, and he calms down, he's fine. And then when José's done his interviews, he comes back up, and Wadey was the most respectful man. I wish I could record it and show people. He was so respectful to José. It was unbelievable. He went up and he said, "You're a nice fella. You're absolutely a fantastic dart player. Better man won. I couldn't have lost to a better man." He said, "I'm proud of what you've achieved." He said, "But I'll be coming for you." He said, "I won't make that mistake again. I won't take it lightly." And they laughed about it and had a bit of fun. But, you know, any player that walks off that stage that isn't disappointed if they've lost, I'll give them a rollicking because I'm disappointed. Do you know, I feel what they feel, but I don't believe any player's happy to come off that stage. I believe even they show different emotions. Dimitri will smile. He'll give the opponents a hug, but he'll be deeply disappointed. Wadey will show his disappointment in front of you because he don't hide it. That's the kind of people. But people will slag Wadey off because he showed his disappointment. But they won't slag Dimmy. They'll say, "Oh, what a diamond, what a gentleman." But they both feel the same. It's just emotions in front of the camera. And people don't know these people. And they just make assumptions and call them names. And going back to social media abuse, it's because of people's persona on camera and the disappointment they show that people call them names and all that, you know, give them abuse. I don't want to go over it again. Let's leave that.
I must say a huge credit, though, to the PDC and Matthew Porter and Barry Hearn for, obviously, since lockdown, we had the World Match Play, and now we've had the Grand Slam. Great coverage on Sky Sports as well, and it's great to see the PDC not just put the events on and make them enjoyable as possible. I remember Wayne Mardle saying it's quite true what he said, that this tournament has been the best tournament for entertainment that we've seen for a while. Through just sheer entertainment and players pushing each other, we've seen a lot of games go the distance from the quarterfinals onwards.
You know what, Tom? This tournament's definitely, even for me, forget the winner, forget the runner-up, forget a semi-finalist. As a darts connoisseur, to sit and watch this Grand Slam, it was amazing. Watching the other games, it was fantastic. I was involved. I was on the edge of my seat in most of the games. It was brilliant. The darts was superb. But going back to Matt and Barry Hearn, and the whole of the PDC staff, by the way, the whole of the PDC staff, they have done an absolutely exceptional job to get us back into work for one. But the money the PDC must be hemorrhaging doing this for us. COVID tests every time. They're doing everything above the board. We had a test a few days ago before the Grand Slam. We had another test today because of the Players' Championship. We haven't left the hotel. We've been in a bubble, but we still had to have a test. They're doing everything they can to keep people safe. And I can't fault them. All I can do is thank them, honestly. And from every single player in my camp, I mean, especially in my camp, because we've had 3 major winners since lockdown. All we can do is thank them for what they've done. We've been to Germany. They keep us as safe as possible. We've had a summer series, we've had an autumn series, we've had a winter series, we've had all the TV tournaments back on, the majors back on. We've got the Worlds coming up at the Ali Pali. Fingers crossed that it's with a crowd. But if it's not, I know the PDC will look after us, and they are fantastic at what they do. And you know, people don't see the money that all this costs, and the PDC are putting that up. And credit to Barry and Matt and all the staff for what they're doing. And like I say, once again, from the bottom of my heart and all my players' hearts, we thank them so much.
So if we could, Mac, let's just focus on Glenn's Premier League winning campaign. It was consistently week after week after week. He was brilliant. I know he's his biggest critic sometimes, where he says, "Oh, I didn't really play that well," and I managed to win. I was with you, obviously, in Liverpool just before lockdown. To see him consistently finish top of the league and go on to win the event. Obviously, you picked up Glenn just after. Was it just after his first world title?
No, so just before his first world title.
Before. So obviously, you knew already that he was a winner, but to see him come to the PDC, just to get in the Premier League was fantastic. But to dominate it the way he did and then go on to win the final, that must please you massively.
Oh, of course it does. Of course it does. Listen, first of all, Glenn, he is his own critic. He's his own biggest critic. And he'll admit, as well as I'll admit, we got lucky in a few games. Peter Wright hitting the wrong double and then Glenn getting the draw, so on and so on. Do you know what I mean? Crucial points that put him at top of the league. But, like, again, I touched on earlier, if you're going to be a champion, you have to be lucky. And we've had a lot of games when we've had no luck. So, you know, swings and roundabouts, it goes round. I'm pleased for Glenn. He came over. Q-score was tough. He had 200 people watching him, and when he won a game, they clapped him. But when he lost, they all cheered that he was out. That's the kind of people that was there, honestly. And then when he got his tour card, the same people were there. Oh, Glenn, knew you'd get it. We knew this, we knew that. So many hypocritical people around at the time. And Glenn had a big following. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it, but PDC is different to BDO. And I said to Glenn, you've got to stop doing this, you've got to stop doing that. As you know, I took his social media off him at one stage because he was on social media before the game. But he's now believing this is a professional job. He's starting to act a bit more professional. I know he has banter with Chris Dobie on social media, which is great. It's fun. You've got to keep doing that. The fans love it. You know what I mean? And it's all good fun. But he came into the PDC with a massive weight on his shoulders. It was huge. And like I say, he got through Q-score. And then after Q-score, people still want him. I mean, there's one certain site out there that just every time he loses, Glenn lost to this bloke. This is the 43rd man he's lost to, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Which he's always going to lose games. They don't say, oh, Glenn, first year, 4 semi-finals in 4 TV majors. Second year, Premier League champion. It's just certain, like I say, a very small minority still want to knock him down. They still want to say, oh, you're not good enough. What has he got to do? What has he got to do? 4 semi-finals, a quarter-final in the World Championships, playing world-class players, and then the Premier League. Okay, so it might not have been the biggest average in the final or the semi-final. It might not have been the best game against Gary Anderson. But he still has to win. And you still have to... It doesn't matter. Averages don't care. W's care. W's count. So, at the end of the day, forget the average. He lifted a Premier League trophy with the elite players from the Premier League. And people are still not happy. They're still calling him out. But I don't care, mate. I don't care. At the end of the day, Glenn Durrant belongs in the PDC. I think he's sitting 12th in the world at the moment in only his second year, and we've lost a lot of the year. I know we've played so much, but he lost a lot of year. His form's dipped a little bit, but he'll be back. I'm confident he'll be back. And like I said, all elite sports people have a blip, all of them. So yeah, I'm proud of Glenn. I'm very proud of what he's achieved because more than anyone, coming over as a three-time BDO world champion, he had a massive, huge weight on his shoulders. And as soon as that monkey was lifted, that weight had gone. I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot more from him. Pretty sure.
So let's just move on to young Dimitri. What a year it's been for the young man. Winning the World Match Play with a fantastic showing, reaching the semis of the Grand Slam with some magnificent performances and averages, and now up to 7th in the world. It's been quite a journey with you and Dimitri. You've been together a long time, and seeing him grow up and mature as a player, that must have really, really satisfied you to see him win the World Match Play.
Do you know what, Tom? So, Dimitri, I'll go back to the early days when I first saw him. I was at Blackpool, was at the match play. He came over with Belgium youth to play a tournament. I won't go through the whole story, but anyway, he played in the British Teenage Masters, and a superb tournament that the likes of Wayne Mardle, Adrian Lewis, Stephen Bunting have won in the past. And he got to the final, and he won. He actually won the British Teenage Masters by dropping one leg in the whole tournament. Phenomenal. And then, I mean, there was players like Fallon Sherrock. She was playing then, Casey Gallagher, and all the young youth lads as well. So the standard was amazing. And to win that was brilliant. And he was just so calm and relaxed. And I knew then he was going to be a champion. And his first PDC tournament in Crawley, he came over, wet behind the ears. It was called the Challenge Tour then. There was no development tour. It was just a Challenge Tour. And he won it. He won one of those on the weekend. And I just sat back and for his first time ever over, and I knew he was a gem. And then from there, 2 World Youth titles, and he won them convincingly. The World Match Play, again, even I didn't expect him to win it. I always thought he'll be a champion, but I wasn't sure he could beat Gary in the final. I wasn't sure he could beat Glenn in the semi-final. But you know what? He stepped up every time. He became a man that day. And this Grand Slam, I mean, if you talk unlucky players, I think he was one of the most unluckiest because he probably deserved. I mean, Wadey sat there and said, I believe if Dimmy had won that game against James Wade, this is James Wade's words, that Dimmy would have been a double champion tonight. And that's no disrespect to José de Sousa. That was Wadey's words. He said Dimmy's such a strong player. And he just keeps going, Dimmy. He's the same all the time. He keeps everything calm. He keeps his focus, But he's a confidence player as well. He's had blips. He's a 68 average once, not long ago, against Josh Payne, lost 6-0. He was devastated. And he didn't think he'd ever be able to throw decent darts again. And then a few months later, he's winning the World Match Play. It's a strange game, darts, mate. It's a strange game. And it's all about what's going on in the mind. And if the mindset's good and you've got a happy surrounding, you'll play well.
I think it's safe to say he was in a good place heading into the Grand Slam because he broke the average record in the group stage. Then he was averaging 105 after the entire group phase. He was on for so close to a 9 darts on his first 2 games. He must have been feeling $1 million up there when he first stepped up.
It's crazy, isn't it? It was just so easy for him. He's in a very good place at the moment. We're talking about him relocating to England, especially if he gets Premier League. He will save all the travelling. He's got a girlfriend that he's absolutely adores, and she's fantastic for him. She supports him. She knows he's away a lot. It's tough. The young, 26 and 24, the young kids, but they're both very mature in the mind. And Dimmy, for the 26-year-old, you'd think he's got a 52-year-old's head on his shoulders. He's very, very good with what he does. He don't waste anything. And when he's got a girlfriend, he's got no distractions at all. So at the moment, he's in a very good place. And I'm happy. I've met his girlfriend. She's absolutely beautiful, inside and out as a person. Like I say, supports him. So he's in a fantastic place. And when he's like that, like you said, darts is so easy for him. He's so natural. He can be anything. We're all looking for the next Michael van Gerwen. And I sit there and I look at my players and I think any one of you can be the next Michael van Gerwen. You are brilliant. All they've got to do now is get Michael van Gerwen's consistency. That's the tough part.
So with the Players' Championship and obviously the World Championships coming up, the likes of Dimi and now José are really peaking at the most important time of the year. You must be really relishing the prospects of the next 4 to 5 weeks.
Tom, I've had the most amazing 5 months. The most amazing. So whatever happens at the Worlds, obviously is out of my hands. But every tournament I go into, I get excited because I look at the players. I mean, I had 6 players in the Grand Slam. 6. Out of 32 players, I had 6. I had 3 players in the semi-finals. And I just look and I'm so proud. I'm proud of myself, obviously because of the way I look after the players. I must be doing something right for them to be playing so well. And they all speak highly of me. But I'm so proud of the players for what they achieved because I look at everyone and I think, you deserve to be a champion. You deserve to be a champion. And now they're starting to fulfill their ambitions. And I'm part of that journey. So, I mean, if I was sitting here on January the 4th talking to you, Tom, with a world champion, I'd probably be crying my eyes out now. And I'd probably retire. I wouldn't because I love it too much. But you know what I mean? It's just amazing. To have a Premier League champion is amazing. To have a match play champion and then a Grand Slam champion. I sat 10 years ago when I first came into this sport. I sat there and I was struggling and it was finding money here and there, robbing Peter to pay Paul, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, and I used to watch players. I used to watch Phil Taylor go on every week and I'd watch all these players and think, one day, maybe I could have players there. And then it started to happen. And I mean, Kim and Yella, when I had both of those, got Premier Leagues, both got relegated. But the journey was fantastic. Do you know what I mean? Just to be part of that elite crowd and sit in the same room and talk to these people was brilliant. Then World Series going with Carl Anderson. Fantastic. I loved it every single minute because, again, I was a part of elite crowd. And now I am. Well, not so much me, obviously not. It's not about me, but my players are now not part of elite crowd. They belong in that elite crowd. Do you know? And to think, possibly, I could have 3 players in the Premier League, and I could have 4 because Wadey's got to the last 2 finals. Yeah, I'm probably thinking way ahead, but just imagine 4 players from one team, and we're not a huge team. We haven't got 30 or 40 players like some people or 20 players. There's 7 of us. 7 of us at the moment. The 2 Aussies, obviously Corey and Kyle, are back home, so they're not playing. So out of the 7 who've got PDC cards, I could have 3 or maybe 4 of those 7. I've got 4 in the top 16. It's insane, mate. It's what I used to dream of as a manager. It's what I used to dream of is now a reality. And
it certainly speaks volumes about the job that you do behind the scenes, though, Mac. It's certainly, obviously, it's okay having these players that have got potential, but it's about turning that potential into major winners, and that's what you're doing at the moment. So the work that you put in behind the scenes, the special conversations that you have with players to lift them or to raise that confidence, it's paying off now, isn't it?
Tom, you know, I believe you treat people how you want to be treated. My players treat me with respect. I treat them with respect. We get on brilliant. And you know, I'll touch on James Wade. People said, what are you doing? I spoke to every player in my team and said, I'm thinking of signing James Wade. What's your thoughts? Every single player went, he'll be brilliant. Just for that experience. They all look up to James. Glenn looks up to James. Everybody looks up to James. He's been there and done it. He's the 3rd most decorated player in the PDC. Like him or loathe him, he's fantastic. And you know what? doesn't matter what people see. He's brilliant for our team. He makes us laugh. He has banter. He's funny. And I take that every day. And people still say, "Oh, I don't envy you tonight. You got this, you got that." Do you know what? Wade is probably one of the most respectful people out there. But people don't see it. Perception. They see a disappointed Wadey on stage because he's just been beat in a final, and they just make their own opinion of him. And it's a shame, really. But it's the way it is. But going back to the players, it's my job to keep their feet on the ground when they're doing so well. But you know what? They keep my feet on the ground as well. We just treat each other as normal. I mean, they're winding me up at the moment. They've got their own ranking table and they've put me second in the ranking. Do you know what I mean? Behind Michael. I'm the world number 2 at the moment. And it's just the banter they have. They've got fake £50 notes with my face on it. And they take the mickey out of me. Do you know? But it's all part of the banter. We all take it funny. It was Glenn's birthday today, or yesterday. We bought him a hat with birthday princess on. He wears the hat and we took a picture. It's banter. We take the mickey out of each other. And that's the way we like it. But you know what? When it comes to business, when it comes to work, we're military and we do everything properly. Everything. But we're a team, mate. But only a team off the dartboard. As soon as we step into that room, it's the business head on. And there's only me that's a team. Every other player is an individual. And it doesn't matter if Dimitri and José are best mates. That 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is, they're enemies and they both want to win. And I say to them both, you dare show that one respect. You go up there, you say, good luck, well done, whatever, but don't show them respect. Show them respect when you come back in, when you've calmed down or when it's all over. But don't show them respect before the game and don't show them respect during the game, as in too much respect. Obviously, don't disrespect him. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a thin line there. But I mean, don't show him respect if it's a great finish, clap him and go, oh, you're brilliant. Forget that. So, so we're a team off the board, 100% a team off the board. As soon as we go into that venue, it's business head on and every man for himself. And I'm the only one who's a team.
So you spoke about James there. It was another fantastic run, coming very close to his 10th PDC major title, and to his own admission, he's not felt this good in years. I imagine that with James's experience, he doesn't require a great deal of mentoring when it comes to offering advice or trying to pick him up. I expect that he's pretty good like
that. Like I said, how can you go up to somebody who's the third most decorated player in the world and say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that? Wade's always been a bit of a loner. So he does his own thing. He sits a table away from like some of the other players, but he'll shout across and he'll take the mickey and we'll have banter. He'll have his music on, his 80s music, and he'll come and say, listen to this, it's a banging tune. And he'll throw an earpiece in your ear, even if you're talking to someone. And you can't tell Wadey what to do in that sense. But you know what? Like I said, the younger players, even Glenn, they look up to Wadey. And sometimes they sit with Wadey and Wadey will tell them things. And James has given Dimitri some advice. And Dimitri took that advice on board and he kept telling me this advice. And this advice was fantastic. It worked. Dimitri obviously took advice from James and he took that on board. And he keeps saying about this advice. And he's just pushed on about it. But every game in the Grand Slam, he'd sit there and he'd rehearse what Wadey said to him. He'd reiterate what Wadey said. And he'd just keep saying it to himself as he was walking to the board. And it worked. And he says, it's just what James said. It was like inspiration. And he takes that. And he takes that inspiration from a player like James. And look how he flourished in the Grand Slam. But like I said, every player listens to James. I don't give James advice. He gives us advice in the right way.
So as I mentioned earlier on in regards to players peaking at the right time, Jermaine's form has really peaked over the last 4 to 6 months, pushing Michael Smith all the way, obviously at Players' Championship 19 recently. You must be really pleased with Jermaine's form so far.
Of course, you know. It could have gone the other way for Jermaine, because obviously he lost his place in the Dutch national team. But he came back stronger, and this winter series, he was fantastic. He was absolutely brilliant. Every day hitting big averages, playing some great 4-0 down to William White and come back and won. And then the last day, under pressure, to win games, to get into the Grand Slam. And he won enough games to put himself in a fantastic place. So, yeah, we're really happy with Jermaine's form at the moment, really happy. And he was so unlucky. He missed, was it 3 match starts to knock Damon out and go through to the group stages? Do you know? So, who knows? It could have been Jermaine that was there. Again, that starts, it happens, but really happy with Jermaine's form. Happy with everyone. Justin Pipes, come on, leaps and bounds again. He's starting to play like he used to. 100 averages, you know. So I'm really happy with everybody in the team. Fantastic.
No, as I know already, you've always been a fan of youth, Mac, with Dimitri maturing into a great young man, both on and off the hockey. You've turned to young Owen Roloffs as he develops into a fantastic young player. Just how important is mentoring young players and preparing them for the development tour and the pro tour potentially?
Do you know, the development tour? It's fun. It's such a shame what's happened now with COVID and not getting them on. But again, the PDC managed to put one on this year, and Owen got to a semi-final. And one of my other youth players, well, 2 of my other youth players, won a tournament there. Kevin Dutz and Ted Evitz both won one. So the future for me is the youth. Obviously, I'm a bit like Rod in that sense. The youth is fantastic, and to get the 3 players I've got in the youth, and also we've got Dom Taylor and Brian Rahman who were with Will Adamson's team. There were 2 fantastic, again, youth players. But I've got some great players in Owen, 17 years old. He did 2 9-darters this year, and he's getting better and better and better. And he won't be long, and I believe next year he will win a development tour, definitely. Kevin Dodds has come along, signed him at Minehead, and then lockdown happened. And during lockdown, I got him some games online so I could see him, because I hadn't really watched a lot of him. And he was beating everyone, beating them up online. And I know it's different online because you're in your own backyard, you're at home, it's easy, no pressure. But I seen a player, and again, I seen a champion. He's the same as Dimitri. His demeanour's the same. He's a calm guy. He's got a lovely attitude. He's respectful. And I watched him, and then obviously he won a development tour that's just gone. And then I brought him over for the Challenge Tour, and he won one of those as well, which got him to 9th in the Order of Merit, only playing the one weekend. And that 9th in the Order of Merit got him into the Winter Series. And the first day, his very first match with me watching him live, he pulled Martin Atkins out the bag, beat him 6-1 with a 99 average. What can you ask? He picked up money in the Winter Series, and he had 1 low average, which was against Dirk van Duivenbode, I think. And I think that was about 84, 85. Other than that, everything was in the 90s. Brilliant. So yeah,
I think as well, if you're Kevin and Owen, obviously developing into a player, and you've got the likes of Dimitri Vandenberg and Ted Evitz, probably the 2 most decorated young players to come through the development. So they must be there for advice and stuff away from the hockey to advise them through the development. So 2 great examples of people to learn from.
That's correct. Well, Kevin lives in Sweden, so obviously he don't really get to do a lot with the Dutch. But going back to Owen plays loads of tournaments with Jelle Klassen and Jermaine Wattimena. And the banter they have is honestly, we've got a group chat and they put it all on the banter. And Owen, for 17 years old, is so cheeky. He gets away with it because he's so young. But it's such good fun. And like you said, to be around these players will only mature Owen. And like I say, Kevin, he's a star already, and he's going to be. But Owen's going to grow and grow and grow in stature, and he's got such a lovely throw. And the only thing at the moment that stops Owen from being a champion is he misses the odd double. That's going to come. Like I said, is it 2 9-darters in this year, in the last few months? Brilliant. Live 9-darters, not not 9 darters in your bedroom, but live 9 darters.
Yeah, I must admit the development tour is fantastic. I mean, I like watching the Pro Tour, but I enjoy the development tour just as much, just to see the averages and the players developing from, say, a mid-70s average to 100 average. And it does serve its purpose. It is called the development tour for a reason.
Yeah, of course. And you know what? It's our future. It's the future of darts. And we've got the final on Sunday with Joe and Bradley Brooks.
Yeah.
And again, that's going to be. I was there watching the qualifiers, and they were super. And I looked at the standard with Martin Schindler, with Jeffrey the Swan, Ted Evitts, Kevin, Owen, and then you got Joe and you got Nils Zonneveld. There's so many good players, and I've looked around the room and I'm like, these are development tour players, and they're absolutely phenomenal. And I'm like, the standard is incredible. And for these two players to make it, I hope they have a brilliant day. I hope they enjoy it, taking the atmosphere. Unfortunately, it's not in front of a crowd, but they're in a world final. They both deserve it. Now, I'm close to Bradley Brooks. He comes around with us and he's close to Ted Evans, so close to my heart. So I love Bradley to bits. I really do. And I don't know Joe that much. I know he's a fantastic player. I've watched him, but obviously my heart's with Bradley, so I want Bradley to win. I'd love him to win. I'd like to be there to watch him win. But even if he doesn't, the both of them, Joe and Bradley, should be so proud of themselves that they've made a development tour final with the standard of players that was around that day. It's a shame that there has to be a loser, because in my eyes, they're both winners for getting there. And I know it's a cheesy cliche, and one of them will be disappointed, but they both have to be so proud. And I know Brad's family are proud of him getting there. I don't know Joe, but I know Brad's family, and I know how proud they are. And I echo that. I'm proud of him as well, because he's gone through a bit of a tough time. Got his tour card. He's had a bit of a tough time, but you know what? The kid's a fighter. He's a young kid, and he's exceptional.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it will be a fantastic. Obviously, Brad's a local lad to me, so I know a bit of him. Being from Blackburn and from Bolton, so it's only down the road. He does a lot of the local competitions and stuff. Obviously, a fantastic play. It speaks volumes that he's lost his tour card and then won it straight back. And he's been picked up by the likes of Molders. They don't do that if you're just an ordinary Joe. So he's obviously got the potential. It's just a case now of pushing on and taking that development to the next stage.
I agree, 100%, definitely.
And obviously, before we do call it a day, Mac, we must mention the mighty Villa, as we always do. A great start to the season. I, for one, have been very impressed with Ollie Watkins. Obviously, that hat-trick at Anfield in that 7-2 demolition of Liverpool, and then obviously a brace at the Emirates. Not a bad start to the season, my friend.
Do you know what? Right? Like I said, I always keep my feet on the ground. First of all, 8 more wins and we're safe. After that, we'll start looking at Champions League. But at the moment, 8 more wins and we're safe. Now, seriously, Tom, Ross Barkley's come in. Ollie Watkins, obviously. He's a good man up front. He runs all the time. He gets into the channels and that. But Ross Barkley, since he's come in, it's give Jack Grealish the freedom. McGinn, Barkley, Douglas Luiz have been absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, Ross had to go off this weekend and in the first minute, and we lost that game, obviously. And I don't understand it, because there's no crowd. We're never very good at Villa Park. The pressure gets to them with the crowd, because the expectation from Villa fans, obviously myself, I've seen us win the European Cup. I've seen us win the league, so the expectation's high. But with no crowd, you'd think the pressure was off, but we've lost our last 3 home games. Yet we can go to Arsenal and beat Arsenal 3-0. Excuse me. Go to Leicester and beat them 1-0, but we can't beat Brighton and Hove Albion at home. It's like darts, it's a weird thing. But I'm very, very happy with the Villa at the moment, very, obviously.
I can imagine you were celebrating like mad when they trounced Liverpool 7-2. What was that like for you when you was witnessing that?
You know what? What a night that was. I had José de Sousa, Dimitri, and Jermaine. We just flew in from somewhere, and we was on our way to Coventry. So we watched the first half together. It was amazing. It was amazing. I was screaming, I was crying, and we went 2-0 up. Liverpool scored. Jermaine's jumped up in the air just to wind me up. I went mad at him. I told him, "Get away from me, get out of the room, blah, blah, blah." I was fuming. And then Villa went up and scored straight away. And I jumped on him. I was kissing him. I was, yeah. But yeah, honestly, I know a lot of Liverpool fans. And you know me, I'm a nice bloke. I didn't give anyone stick. Not. I even give Robbie Green stick. I got some bottle.
Mac, as always, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. I really enjoyed that, and I wish you all the best, obviously, for the Players' Championship finals this weekend, then on to the World Championship, hopefully with fans this time.
Tom, thanks for your time. Honestly, you do a great job. Everybody respects you and appreciates you in darts. Before I go, I just want to say, everybody stay safe. Hopefully this pandemic's nearly over. Hopefully we get crowds back, and hope to see you all at the dart soon.